Let's get started. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I know that you're giving up some of your precious evening time, and I really do appreciate that. We want to give you as much information about behaviour support practitioner and being a behaviour support practitioner, and also about being a behaviour support practitioner at Real Therapy Solutions. I always believe that when we're doing recruitment, it's a two-way stream. We're looking for the right people that fit in our organisation with our philosophies and how we work with clients, but you're also looking for the right fit for you. You want a role that suits your needs, that meets your values, and an organisation that does the same. So this webinar is to give you some of that information and give you the opportunity to meet a couple of us from Real Therapy Solutions. We actually have a couple, I think there's about 2 or 3 members of our team also in the webinar, and you'll see Liesl and myself on the screen as we go through for the next hour. So we'll be talking you through just a little bit about what a behaviour practitioner is, and what it's like to work at Real Therapy Solutions and what the internship looks like. We've had a massive amount of interest about the internship, which I'm so excited about. This is actually our 3rd intake of interns through our induction, the training program for behaviour practitioners. So we have done this before, but this will be our 3rd one. So we've learnt a lot and we've built a lot from the very first one that we did. So let's get started. So you want to be a behaviour practitioner. What does that mean? Well, you are definitely in the right place. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my background as a behaviour support practitioner. So my name's Amanda Wood. Hi, everyone. I consider myself, I'm the owner at Real Therapy Solutions. I'm also a forensic psychologist, but I really consider myself at my core a behaviour support practitioner. It's how I started as a therapist, and I sort of morphed into a forensic psychologist through going back to uni, because I worked with some people with quite challenging behaviours, and unfortunately some of them were involved in the criminal justice system. After you've done it worked in behaviour support for about 10 years, you do work with people that are a little more challenging, although I believe we're all complex and challenging in our own ways. So I consider myself at my core a behaviour support practitioner, and it's probably the thing I love doing the absolute most from a clinical perspective. So I've been training in behaviour support for well over 15 years and supervised over, I didn't count, but definitely over 50 behaviour practitioners. So part of my role when I first started Real Therapy Solutions and I worked as a sole trader, it was just me as a behaviour support practitioner, was supervising behaviour practitioners in the government services and in other not-for-profit services, and actually running training programs to develop their skills in behaviour support. So there's no one recognised formal qualification for behaviour support. There are absolutely tertiary qualifications starting to come up. The BCBA, the Board Certified Behaviour Analyst, would be one of those. That is very, it's an American qualification that's now moved into Australia, and it's a good qualification. And there's a couple of others that are coming up, but there's no, you have to do this one qualification to be a behaviour practitioner. So part of my role was developing people and helping them develop the skills to provide behaviour support in the government services and the not-for-profit. I currently sit as an authorised restricted practice panel member, so I don't know how many of you are involved, and we do have a couple of polls to get a little bit of information about, where, what you work in and what you're doing now to help me guide the webinar. But I currently sit on restricted practice panels across New South Wales, so authorising what we call restrictive practices. So it's really about reviewing those practices that are often a breach of human rights and that are often put in place to manage risk, that are considered a little bit more outside of the norm, and we review the behaviour plans that come with those. The other thing I do a lot of is liaison with numerous peak bodies and organisations around behaviour support and the NDIA, and how the NDIA supports the behaviour support or improved relationships area. So that's another area that I'm really passionate about, and I'll let you know a little bit more about that. Liesl is also online. You'll see her here. Liesl is our therapy manager at Real Therapy Solutions. So she is involved in all things around making sure that our therapy services, of which behaviour support is one, is high quality, and the people that are providing it get the support, the supervision, the training, and have the systems around to support them. So Liesl's also a registered occupational therapist for over 30 years, Liesl. Did I get that right?
You did, and that just scares me when I see that.
I know, it does. It makes us realize how old we are, but for over 30 years. And Liesl came to us with a vast amount of experience: children, adults, mental health, sensory issues, complex trauma. Liesl actually sat through our last competency program to really get an understanding of how we do behaviour support at Real Therapy Solutions, and then develop some of our processes to help our entry levels around that. So Liesl and I are very heavily involved in the training program for behaviour support and in the working with our new interns that come on board, as are a couple of our team leaders as well. So it's not just us, but I just wanted to introduce us today. I want to give you a little bit about my experience as a behaviour practitioner and my why. I literally fell into disability services when I left. I left uni with a 3-year psychology degree, as many people do, and wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, and fell into a little bit of youth work, doing 24-hour shifts, and then fell into disabilities because they gave me a company car. That is literally why I'm working in disabilities, or why I started working in disabilities. It's not why I'm here now. So as many people have in the past, I sort of fell into a career in disabilities and absolutely loved it. Did not think I would. Learned a lot along the way. And I guess along that process, I started as a caseworker, which really very quickly moved into a behaviour support practitioner. And through my journey, I've worked in a number of what were called large residentials, and the closure of a lot of those, and moving people who were really institutionalised in institutions throughout Sydney and New South Wales into the community, which was a massively rewarding role. And I did a lot of the behaviour support for those guys, and still see a lot of them. For me, behaviour support is it's about putting a puzzle together. And I've stepped out of behaviour support in my career, particularly when I was in my master's degree and worked with people that didn't have a disability, and I found it wasn't enough of a challenge for me, although it can be very challenging. I just loved supporting people who you really have to sit and you have to get to know them, obviously, and you often can't get to know some of our clients through the traditional method of, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. It's about understanding how they interact with their environment often, although we have a lot of clients that are very verbal and will tell you all about themselves and their day and their family and their lives. But we also have some clients that aren't. And I really enjoy that, getting to know the person in so many different ways and understanding why they behave the way they do. And I think for me, it's been such a rewarding career, from seeing people living in institutions to, living in the community and holding down jobs and even getting married and having children, to even just little rewarding things where we will have children who can't sit at the family dinner table because of their behaviours and because of some of the things that we've worked with them on and the family on. They're now sitting down having dinner with their families, 3 or 4 nights a week, which is a big step, massive rewards. And for me, I firmly believe that people with a disability deserve the same quality services as everyone else, whether it's psychology, speech, OT, and behaviour support. So that's really what drives me in my role at Real Therapy Solutions, ensuring that people with a disability, regardless of type of disability, psychosocial, mental health, physical disability, intellectual disability, autism, they deserve to have the same quality supports, people who understand them and people who understand who they are and, you know, where they've come from. And for me, that's what drives me as a behaviour practitioner. Oh,
did you want to do the quick poll, Amanda?
I did, please, Lisa. I told you I would forget those. We're going to put a quick poll up. So this will pop up on your screen, I believe. And what's this one, Lisa?
This one is just asking you a few questions. I have or currently worked in the disability sector, so just a yes or a no for us.
Yeah.
Great. So we've got 66% saying yes, they have, and 34% saying no.
So that those of you that haven't, there's so many rewards that hopefully you'll soon learn about, and so many career opportunities, but behaviour support's the best one, I believe, anyway. So yeah, so a lot of you have actually worked or had some interaction in the disability sector, which is great to see. All right. So moving on. So why behaviour support? You have a genuine ability to make a positive difference in behaviour support. And for me, it's more holistic than being a psychologist, a lot more holistic. When I'm doing behaviour support, I get to look at the person's whole of life. So I get to look at not just their psychological functioning, but I'm also talking to their speechy and about their communication. I'm also often liaising with their psychiatrist or their paediatrician and trying to get information from them or speak with them. So I find behaviour support, because it's so holistic and you are in so many areas of a person's life, gathering information, bringing it all together and analysing it, that I have a genuine ability to make a real positive difference. And this is just my opinion, but even more so when I practice as a psychologist. I find there's challenge. I do like a challenge, and I think to some degree, to work in behaviour support, the answers aren't going to be there right in front of you. So you need to at least enjoy working through information, being a little analytical, and sometimes coming up against some tough questions about, why is this person doing this? You know, why are they screaming when they're out at the movie cinema, and why not anywhere else? So you're asking some of those why questions to try and come up with the answers around those challenges. It's extremely rewarding, as I've already mentioned, but I guess one of the things you do need to be able to do is see the rewards in some of the smaller things. They're not always massive rewards, and they don't happen quickly all the time. You need to be grateful and just really be able to reflect on the little things that can actually make a huge difference in a person's life, but to you it might seem something little, like being able to sit at the dinner table with the family. There are so many career opportunities in behaviour support. It is definitely, with the rollout of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, one of the areas that we don't have enough behaviour practitioners providing quality behaviour supports. There has been a little bit of a shift at times in how behaviour support's been provided through the sector, and not all of it positive. I'll be really honest with you, which is my opinion. But for people that do want to do quality behaviour support and do it in a clinical framework and get to know the person, there's really massive career opportunities. There's flexibility. When you're a therapist, you have appointments and you see clients on the hour, almost for most of the day. When you're a behaviour practitioner, you go out, you see clients possibly at their school, in their homes, in their day program. They may come to you in the clinic, but there is also a lot more reviewing data, making phone calls, writing reports. So there's that flexibility to adjust that time to some degree in the clinic, and when you see people, and when you stay in the clinic, and when you do your report writing. And certainly we do offer some work from home options after your initial stages with real therapy solutions after your initial learning. I'd be interested to know from everyone, what interests you about a career in behaviour support? the most. So maybe if a couple of people just want to pop in the chat line, what interests you about a career? What was it that made you think, I want to go and work in behaviour support? If anyone wants to pop that in the chat. Making the difference. Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, Stephen, working with vulnerable people. Yeah, and supporting them. Brooke. Yeah, holistic care. I must admit, that's what I love. And Rachel, I think for me, it's mostly the ability to be able to employ a positive difference in the lives of others. Yeah, I love being able to, it sounds so cliche, but I really like going home and knowing that, you know, at the end of the day, I hopefully done something, whether it's been supervising a behaviour practitioner for me that has helped make a difference for other people in their lives. Nerida, I like to understand people. Yeah, that why, getting to that about them, and Alice making a positive impact. Yeah, great. Kirsten, so working with complex cognitive behaviours and seeing the progress, great. Yep. Rihanna, the challenge, more specialised. Yeah, they're making getting a psychology qualification a lot harder as of the 30th of June as well. Yeah, supporting vulnerable populations. So, yeah, I think you're all here for the right reasons. Absolutely. Positive change. Okay, someone's not getting good sound, so they're going to jump back in. That's fine. Yeah, great. Learning more about others and myself to provide quality care and support. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, and you do learn more about yourself as well. Yeah, the little wins, hearing the challenges of others, in the why. Wonderful. Thank you so much for those comments, everyone. You're definitely here for the right reasons. So let's move on. So why Real Therapy Solutions? There are a lot of providers. Yes.
You just missed another poll.
Oh, did I? That's all right. I did that one. So told you I would miss the polls. Why Real Therapy Solutions? There's a lot of providers that provide behaviour support and some really good providers out there. So why us? I guess you'll be trained by practitioners with over 25 years experience in behaviour support. So myself alone has been working for 25 years in the behaviour support sector, and I'll be running the training alongside Liesl. So I'm still learning. There's always things to learn. I absolutely believe that. But I think one thing that we do know is we really know behaviour support. It hasn't changed that much in 25 years, or the framework of how we do it and the philosophy, but the experiences along the way of working with such a varied client group and working with the government and the commission and, you know, a number of the peak organisations around some of the processes and reasons for why they're there. I'm really committed to developing behaviour support practitioners, as is Liesl and as is the team leaders at Real Therapy Solutions. We don't have enough good behaviour support practitioners, and the more behaviour support practitioners we have providing quality services, the better it's going to be for people with disabilities. So earlier in my career, I was also a TAFE teacher because I have a real passion for developing the workforce, hence why I've done so much training through my years. We are committed to quality behaviour support and positive outcomes, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we're absolutely committed to person-centred and ethical practices. There have been some changes at times through the sector that have meant behaviour support in some instances has moved away from understanding the person and getting to know the person and writing a plan that is about them, to grabbing an off-the-shelf plan, making a couple of changes, billing for the whole thing and sending it out. Now, I'm certainly not accusing anyone of doing that on purpose, but it's absolutely happening. It's something that I'm involved in at a peak level in the sector. But one of the things that we will not compromise is that person-centred practice of understanding the person. Behaviour support is not and will not become a paper exercise at Real Therapy Solutions. The support that you receive in the induction program is more than a provisional psychologist gets in their first 6 months with us. So there's a lot of support. If any of you are psychologists or have done a psych degree, you'll know that the provisional psychology program is very intense, 2 hours supervision a week, all kinds of things. So we offer the same to the internship because I believe it's just as an important role that needs the support and the training there. So you will get a lot of that. They're just some of our team picks. And we love what we do. We really do. And I think you need to love what you do to be able to do behaviour support with people with disabilities, largely because it makes your life better if you really enjoy getting up and going to work. I would be lying if I said I enjoy getting up and going to work every single day. There are absolutely days where I'd rather sit down the beach, but most of the time it's a pleasure to come to work. So behaviour support at Real Therapy Solutions is about the person first. It's always about, let's go and meet this person, let's get to know them. There are funding constraints around this, absolutely, but we need to know who the person is. Then we need to use a process that works. So positive behaviour support, and we teach this through the training, is a process. It's not a tick box. It's not a checklist thing that it's become through some of the, I guess, commission processes that are coming out. It is a process of supporting a person holistically. And then, of course, we need to make sure that we meet all of the legal and best practice requirements set by the NDIS and set by the research. So it really is built on the person. Real Therapy Solutions is committed to developing the capabilities in the behaviour support sector, and we do this a number of ways, and we promote ethical and person-centred behaviour support. So making sure that the person knows what we're doing, they know what we're billing for, and if we don't need to put the time in to do something, we don't bill for it. Behaviour support is never a checklist or a tick box or paper exercise for us. It's a clinical. Okay, so what will you achieve? You will definitely achieve. Oh, there was another poll, wasn't there, Lisa?
There was too, Amanda. Shall we quickly run that one?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so, I have already shared the results. How do I get to the next one?
Maybe there isn't another poll, everyone.
Maybe there isn't.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that seems to be the one and only one. So I will stop annoying you, Amanda.
That's okay. All right, let's move on. What will you achieve? You'll absolutely achieve clinical skills in assessment, understanding what is this behaviour and why is it occurring, and using tools to do that. And then what we call formulation. So formulation is skills in looking at all aspects of a person's life. What drives their behaviour? What maintains it? When is it most likely? And how does their environment contribute to it? And putting all of that together, you'll learn a lot of skills in that. You'll get a lot of skills in data gathering and analysis. So developing data sheets that you send out to people and they record how often a behaviour occurs, maybe its severity, and then collecting all of that, and you'll get training in Excel and how to graph some of that. We don't always get to that level of the graphing, however, it's definitely best practice. You'll get to know, so one of my areas that I love talking about is the practical knowledge around key legislation and legal requirements around things like restrictive practices. So I won't go too much into what restrictive practices are, but there are definitely areas in behaviour support where you're stepping into some legislated areas, so legal areas that you need to have some understanding of. You're not a lawyer, we don't expect you to be a lawyer, but just understanding where that sits and being able to consider what that means for the person if we are, say, locking the cupboards in a kitchen to stop them grabbing food. You will achieve the opportunity to improve quality of life for people with a disability. Behaviour support is ultimately about improving a person's quality of life. And that should be what is at the core of it. The core of it isn't about putting restrictions in place for their safety. That might be a necessary thing that we need to do within the boundaries of the ethical and legal requirements. But really the work that we're aiming to do is improve the person's quality of life. You'll definitely gain a greater understanding of communication, sensory, emotional issues by learning from our therapy team. So we often have someone who's got a lot of experience in these areas talk to you about communication and sensory, but also just from hallway chats, case discussions that you'll have in the teams, hallway chats with some speechies and occupational therapists, and just some of the resources that we have that you'll be able to access and play with and put in your behaviour plans and then go out and implement with some of the clients. You'll learn a lot from that. And you'll become a registered NDIS Behaviour Support Practitioner. So there is a registration process that you have to go through in order to provide behaviour support under the NDIS model. And it's not too onerous, but it's there for a reason, to make sure that people have knowledge and skills in key concepts. So that's what you will be achieving. I want to show you a little video that has some of our team on it about working at Real Therapy Solutions. Sorry, I'm just putting my sound up for you.
Real Therapy Solutions is a team of different types of therapists providing different areas of therapy to children and adults that may need support in a variety of areas. I thought the balance of doing some clinical work and growing a team, growing an organisation, helping to bed down systems, it just seemed like where my strengths are and my interests are. We've got people, I think, who are really dedicated to their profession and to their achievement with clients.
If you're not working with the right people, you're not enjoying it. And I really enjoy my job. So I think it has a lot to do with the way that the company is run and the people that we work with in our recruitment process there. I know that anyone would just go that extra mile to help out each other within the team as well as help out their clients. I think if I ever had to leave, I would just be heartbroken because the clients are just the best. I'm learning skills that I'll take with me forever. And yeah, hopefully making friends that I can take with me forever and my co-workers and stuff. I think Amanda sets it up really well as our boss. Like, she really cares about us as her staff, and then we also then care about each other and we care about our clients. It's really that flow-on effect that Amanda isn't caring about herself in the business, but she sees that the business gives our clients, and so if we can give them the best and we're supported well as staff, and the whole system works really well together.
The staff is amazing. They are vibrant. They are full of energy and they are really helpful, really supportive. I did not even feel like I've been only working for like 1 month. I feel like it's been a long time now.
We've got that fun team, but we've also got the knowledge side of stuff this way. Being a young psychologist, everyone's here to teach you, you learn from them, and I just love that kind of really supportive family vibe that we have here.
The team is brilliant and so knowledgeable too. Like, I can always go and ask the sites and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this behaviour, or this kid's saying this strange thing. I can go and ask the speechy. We want people that are passionate about what they do, people that want to be part of a team, and people that want to belong to something that is bigger than just what they do. People that want to achieve outcomes, that want to go home at the end of the day saying, we've done better today than we did yesterday.
I promise we didn't pay those people other than their salary for the day that they worked that day. So that videos are probably about 3 years old now, to be honest. And a couple of things that stand out about that is a couple of the people are now in more senior roles at Real Therapy Solutions from that. So that's our more recent pick of our team at our recent conference, so Christmas conference last year. That's the silly photo, by the way. That's not the norm. We normally take 2 photos, the professional smiling photo and the silly photo. That is the silly one. So you'll be working with a team of allied health practitioners, speech, OT, psychology, and behaviour support. We have administration support, which is really important in behaviour support to help you book appointments, deal with all the service agreements and all the claiming, so you can get down to doing the clinical side of things. There's ongoing professional development. It's one of the key things that we're able to offer now, and that I'm so grateful for at the size we're at, is the ability to utilise some of our team to provide that ongoing professional development and you know, look outwards to external courses as well. Great supervision. We have a really good supervision and clinical support structure that Liesel's worked very, very hard on, that supports everybody through the organisation, and definitely be part of a growing organisation with great career opportunities. We definitely have plans to continue to grow our services, as long as people with disabilities are still struggling to access services, because there's not enough. We'll keep growing so that they get the choice and control that the NDIA has promised them. We have some pretty amazing clinics, I'll be honest with you. The sensory gyms are just brilliant, and they're pretty modern. And we also do offer work from home options. We do say in the internship, the first 6 months, we do prefer you in the clinic a lot of the time. It's about that, you know, getting to know people and learning from those hallway chats and that sort of team camaraderie and that culture that really goes a long way. We do also offer roster days off, so 9-day fortnights. So you still work your 76 hours, but you get a day off a fortnight. That usually gets introduced after your first 6 months again, so that you can really just get your time management and organisational skills down. And as you can see on the picture, we have a really fun team. That's our cake competition too, where we had to do, we had a cake competition, we had to make a cake, real therapy solutions on it. So let's talk about the role. It's assessment of behaviours and lifestyle of a person through interviews, meeting with them, meeting with their family, meeting with their carers, conducting observations, seeing them in certain environments, and using some of the more formal behaviour assessment tools. It's liaising with various stakeholders, people with disabilities, their family, school teachers, psychiatrists, paediatricians, caseworkers, a lot of people that you'll need to reach out to and talk to, analysing information, asking a lot of questions. Why? How come? What can I do about this? How can I help? Investigating incidents or information further. So someone may be prescribed a medication. We actually need to find out why they're prescribed it, so we can determine if it's a restricted practice. You're recommending and trialling strategies with a person or their carers. So you may develop a strategy around supporting someone, but you'll actually go out and trial it, funding permitting. And if funding doesn't permit, you'll usually do it when they get their next lot of funding. And there is report writing and behaviour plans. So there is a fair bit of report writing in the behaviour support role. There's a number of templates that we have that you'll use as a guide, but obviously each plan is also person-centred. So you do need to have a decent amount of report writing skills to be able to do the job. A typical day. I literally took this from one of our behaviour support practitioners' calendars for last week. So she left from home and drove straight to a school visit to observe a client that she was in the early stages of doing a plan for. She wanted to see him in the classroom and have a chat to the teacher. So from there, she drove to the clinic. From there, she had a phone call booked in with a house manager. So this would have been a supported accommodation provider for an adult client. Obviously, the one at school was a child, to follow up on some psychological support. They were talking about the need for this client to see a psychologist. And she was talking to the person about, you know, what the psychologist might do. And the lady was asking, do you know anyone? And there was also an incident in the house yesterday that they discussed. She then spent some time doing some case notes. So from the school visit, she would have need to write some case notes in our system and review the emails that she may have from other clients, other team members. She then had lunch with the team. I know that because this clinic always has lunch together. They then had a team meeting. I couldn't tell if it's usually a team meeting or a case discussion, where the team meeting is obviously more operational. The case discussion is where, you know, speech OT, psych, behaviour support from that clinic come together and talk about a case. If they're not on, it's usually back to emails or other admin tasks, or you might do a bit of report writing in there. She then had supervision with her supervisor, and she then sat down for the afternoon to really get into writing a behaviour support plan for a client, and then went home. So that's a pretty typical day, although no 2 days are ever the same. So I'm going to show you, this is a little tongue-in-cheek by one of our team leaders in behaviour support, who was a provisional psychologist, when he did this video, just to give you a bit of a fun look at a typical day.
Hi guys, Zach from Therapy Solutions here. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the provisional psychologists who work at Real. I've been there for about 9 months now, so I am relatively new to the team. But the team as a whole has been providing over 25 years of service to people with autism, disability, and just anything else that people might need help with. So it's been really great to kind of slide into a team that's been really well established, really well-rounded, and that's really collaborative as well. So it's been super rewarding to be able to speak to people from different disciplines and really start to understand broader concepts and things like that as a young psychologist, being able to understand something from an occupational therapist point of view or from a speech pathologist point of view. Just having that input really impacts on, investigating different reasons why things might be happening. So what I thought I'd do is I thought that I would make a short piece on a day in the life of the therapist. So it is a little bit more comedic, a little bit hand up, and so everything in here is probably not 100% accurate, but just to give you guys an idea of the reports we write, we like to do our research, and we really do like to collaborate together to make sure that we are getting a really well-rounded, well-informed therapy as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys are in and around the office, let me know, come say hi, or just ask for Zach and I'll come down and say hi to you. So see you guys later. Bye. Have I made that resource? Did I write that report? Did I do that? Oh wait, it's Saturday. And it's time to go to work.
Sorry, I'm just turning it down a little bit.
It's time for a coffee. Okay, so I just got to work. I'm gonna get a coffee before I first time. Yummy. Where's my pen? So I just got back from seeing a client. Oh, sorry, I got another client. So I just got back from seeing a client. It's notes time. And so I just got back from seeing a client. It's report time. Just a question. Sorry, excuse me. It's resource time. Time to do a little bit of research. Research. Oh, sorry, I got another client. Oh, I see. How does that actually do? Why do you think that might be? Have you looked at sensory processing? Has their language and communication been assessed? So I just got back from seeing a client. It's lunchtime. And you know what that means? So when we're looking at cognitive theory, oh, sorry, phone's ringing. Yeah, let me just check the diary. See. How's the other session? How's that speech session? How do you know about this? Oh, sorry guys, I just got a client. Has anyone seen my black pen? Has anyone seen my blue pen? Does anyone have a pencil? And after a long day at work, it's time to go home. Bye guys! And what did I do to end of that? Sorry, I couldn't have a client.
So as I said, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it does give you an idea, and that's not that different from a role in behaviour support. You would probably see less clients. In fact, I'm pretty sure Zach sees less clients than that, and most of our psychs do. But you the tasks would be very similar. So yeah, I thought that's interesting, a good little video to give you an understanding of it. Let's have a look at a good behaviour practitioner. So I'm thinking about what are the attributes of a good behaviour practitioner. And I encourage you to think about, is this me? They seek to understand the person, their lifestyle and what they need. I think you need to have a level of being practical to be a good behaviour support practitioner. Yes, there's a bit of report writing, but it doesn't help writing a report with strategies that can't be implemented because of the person's environment, or maybe mum's a sole mother and she's working full time and you've put strategies in that take 3 hours a day. So we need to have a level of realism and being practical about what we're suggesting and what we're putting in place for the person. You do need to have good time management and organisational skills. We do have some systems, and Liesl works really hard supporting anyone who comes into the organisation to develop those, but you need to have a level of those. You'll need to make sure that you can book everything in or prioritise where you can't get everything in. And I think there's always a level of having to prioritise some of your work and being able to organise. So your day's not always set with, you need to come and see a client at 9 o'clock, then there's another client at 10, and there's another client at 11, then there's another client at 3 o'clock. You'll need to go, right, I have to do this report, or I have to start looking at this information. So I'm going to book that in my diary. And what do I do after I've done a file review? Then I need to meet with the person. And then after that, I'm going to need time to do my report. So you're going to need to develop the skills to be able to sit down and look at our processes and talk to us and then book things into your diary. You need to like to be out interacting with clients. If you're looking for a desk job, behaviour support's not for you. There's definitely desk elements to it in doing your report writing, but you need to get out there. You need to see the clients. You need to like variety. Often you don't really know what you're walking into when a client's referred to you. You know whether they're a child or an adult, but you often don't have a good understanding of their background and their behaviours until you actually meet them. Obviously, we have a lot of processes in place around risk assessment. You're not walking into a risky environment, but I more mean that about, is this person, have they had a trauma background, or are they verbal or non-verbal? You may not always know that before you meet the person. You really need to be keen to learn and grow. There's so much to learn in behaviour support, because you do learn about communication, you do learn about sensory, you do learn about emotional regulation. So you are sort of dipping your toes into all of the therapeutic areas and learning a little bit about those. You're obviously not becoming a speechy or an OT or a psychologist, but you're learning little key things. And for me, what sums up a good behaviour practitioner most is I really see the role as a clinical caseworker. It's a clinical role, but it's a caseworker role in that I'm looking at, and I would never write this in a paper, and I know the NDIS would never agree with the caseworker side of things, but it's similar to a caseworker in that you're looking at all those different areas and you're trying to pull everyone in together and make sure that they're all working together. So if a client has a mealtime management plan from a speech pathologist, I'm referring to that in my behaviour plan. If they have a communication assessment, I'm referring to that in my behaviour plan. If they have a schizophrenia, then I'm referring to that in my behaviour plan and making sure that my behaviour plan links who the psychiatrist is and their medication. So I'm bringing all of that in together. Okay, so the role, as advertised, we do prefer full-time, largely because it's actually more difficult to learn the role and do the role part-time. The time management piece is a little bit more difficult. We do have an entry level that we took in part-time in the past. They had a long background of working in disability services, but we do prefer full-time. And the salary is $71,500 per annum. That's inclusive of super, that's the starting rate. It is a permanent position. The internship will roll over to you being a behaviour support practitioner after 12 months. So it is an employment, full-time permanent position. The work hours, our clinics are open 8 AM to 6 PM. You work at 7.6 hours a day. That is not us, that is the full-time award. 7.6 is ridiculous. It's something like an extra 8 minutes a day or some silly thing like that. Once you're able to take a rostered day off, people obviously work more than 7.6 on certain days, and to get that day off a fortnight. So, and there's flexibility around that as long as you're meeting the client needs and your key targets. You are based from a clinic initially. And as I said, it's being part of that team and having those supports around you and that connectedness that we think makes the program a success and helps you develop your skills quicker. So you will be based from a clinic, but we do allow working from home, certainly as people become more experienced, and the behaviour support role lends itself more to that than, say, a therapist does in some cases. It does involve travel in the local clinic area or possibly your local area. You are going to need a car, you're going to need a vehicle, and you may also be asked to travel to nearby clinics. So Bella Vista and Campbelltown are often close. If we don't have referrals that meet your needs and where your knowledge and skills sit, but we do at Campbelltown, we may refer a client from Campbelltown to you, which means you're needing to go there to see the client and travel to them. That doesn't happen that much, but it absolutely can happen. We will often allocate clients if you live in an area that we don't have a clinic in and you're traveling 40 minutes to get to work, but we get referrals in your area and they meet your needs and your skills, then we will refer them to you and you can see them straight from home. So to just minimize some of that travel. You are required to meet some KPIs, key performance indicators. Everybody at Real Therapy Solutions is, and they do include billable hours. I prefer to think of billable hours as hours that I'm spending giving value to clients, because that's exactly what they are. And you will have times where you're doing things that sort of sit around the work that you're doing, and we don't call them billable hours, but this is the world we live in, and this enables us to continue to provide supports and services to people for years to come. And Real Therapy Solutions has been around for, well, as a company since 2013. So we've got a long-standing history, and before that since 2000. So unfortunately, it is something that we need to monitor, but it's about giving value to people and valuing what you're doing and what you're learning and what your supervisor does with you. You're working with children and adults. Depending on which clinic, some clinics have more adult referrals and some will have more children, just by nature of who refers to us. But you can expect to be working with anyone from 3-4 years upwards to 65. So the internship, this is one of our provisional psych interns who had a bet with a client that if the client followed through on some homework or something, he would dress up in, I believe that's the client's favourite football team, and a guitar and a wig, and guess what? The client did it. So the internship, for the first 6 months, you get an induction to Real Therapy Solutions. For your first 2 days, you're actually in the clinic. Yes, we do have some policies and those kinds of things. We then have 3 days of our behaviour practitioner training for your day 3, 4, and 5. So that makes up your first week at Real Therapy Solutions. And then after that, you go back to the clinic and you work with your supervisor, who will go with you to visits. So you'll do some initial appointments. The supervisor will take most of the lead in those appointments, however, and you'll be observing. So you'll in your first 2 weeks, you will get to meet clients and observe the supervisor doing initial assessments. You'll then come back for 3 days training, and some of that information that you've gathered in those 2 assessments, maybe one, if we haven't been able to get both booked in, depending on the client's availability, you'll be using that information and looking at it in the group and understanding, asking questions. There'll also be training in that aspect, but you'll also be starting to actually do some of the work. There'll be weekly supervision for the first, how long, Liesl?
Weekly supervision for the first month.
Yep.
And then thereafter we transition into less supervision.
Yep. So, and there'll be group supervision every month as well. We use a Teams channel where you can reach out and talk to your supervisor at any time on there. And obviously there's other behaviour practitioners around you with varying degrees of experience that you can talk to. So we really encourage those ongoing discussions. So one of the things we say is you'll have a allocated time for supervision where you'll sit down and really focus in, but that doesn't mean you can't reach out to people in the meantime and during the day. They might be in a meeting, but they'll get back to you after that meeting. So you'll also get an additional 3 lots of 2-hour training in that first 6 months. So often we do one on data, or you will do one on data analysis and Excel spreadsheets. You'll also be completing the self-assessment. This is the NDIS registration as a behaviour practitioner to core practitioner to developing capability. So you'll put in your self-assessment, and depending on if you haven't had experience in behaviour support before coming to us, you'll be putting it in as developing your capabilities. You won't have met the whole core practitioner capabilities, and we'll work you through the self-assessment. The next 6 months, you've got an ongoing management of a caseload. It's really hard to say how many clients. It's almost like saying how long's a piece of string, because some of your clients will have 10 hours that are allocated in funding, some will have 90. So obviously, if you've got 35 clients, you will have 90 hours that they need, that they've been funded for in the next 12 months. That's a lot of work. And you'll have some clients who you don't see for a week or 2 weeks because, you know, you're waiting on information or you're waiting on an appointment, and then you'll have other clients that you'll be working 6-7 hours on a week. So it can be a little varied. We'll do some more training in that time, and obviously your formal supervision will be decreased in the second 6 months. You'll complete the self-assessment core standards, hopefully to capability met. It does depend on your client load and how much of certain domains within that self-assessment you get, but most of you will be meeting capability in a lot of those standards. All right, what do we expect from you? We really, really strongly encourage you need to take some initiative and seek out support where needed. We have a pretty good understanding of what areas we need to focus in on to support new behaviour practitioners, but you will have areas as well that you may need additional support on, and we ask people that please reach out to your supervisors, your clinic manager, the team around you, because I don't believe that, I actually believe that learning is a really key thing, and sometimes, you know, accepting what we might have some weaknesses in, or what we're not sure about, or we haven't understood well, is a real key learning, and we all need to be doing it. We have processes and templates that, again, you need to use as a guide and follow, always remembering it's about the person. It's not about just filling in a template the same you did for the last client. All your plans and reports are reviewed at length by your supervisor, discussed, and they sign off on them. So your clients are actually getting 2 practitioners for the price of 1 to some degree. They're getting an experienced behaviour practitioner, and they're also getting your keen initiative, motivation of being new. Ongoing professional development and work, and you'll be working through the NDIS Commission self-assessment. There often is some areas you'll need to go away and research. You know, if you're not familiar with autism, we have a number of training programs in autism that are on record, and we run live ones throughout the year, but you may need to jump on and watch one of those recordings if you're not familiar with autism, or need to you know, learn a little bit more, and we encourage you to do that. So there is a little bit of self-learning, and sometimes you may want to invest some of your own time outside of work in doing that. We don't expect you to work outside of hours. That's counterproductive. But you know, you probably will need to, if you really want to move forward quite quickly, you know, we all need to often invest some time in our own learning and our own growth. You'll need to plan your day, your week ahead in our diaries so that we can see what you've got coming up. It helps us supervise you. It helps with the clinical process of behaviour support so that we can monitor that and support you to make sure that that's happening properly. It also helps with your time management organisation, and it also helps with meeting the billables. Oh, here is what is expected from a behaviour practitioner. What are those dreaded billables or valuable client hours, Amanda? This is our expectation. So when you first start working with Real Therapy Solutions, your first 2 weeks, you'll be doing 10, which is 5 a week, which is in a 38-hour week. So you can see that there's a lot of room there for growing and developing. In your second fortnight, it goes up to 20. So you can see this is telling you, and at the maximum, our billables are 26 a week, 52 a fortnight, which leaves you with 14 hours a week, almost 4 days a fortnight of that non-billable work. So anything that is, and we have a long list of what you can class as billable and what isn't. So it's pretty standard. I'll be really honest with you. That's what most therapy services do. And there's a lot of support to help you get there. But it is part and parcel of being a behaviour support practitioner. And we believe it's quite a reasonable expectation and pretty standard across the sector. So what about the internships? They start on the 30th of May, 2022, the next intake. And there's 2 days in your clinic getting to know your team in the clinic, and then the training starts. So the behaviour induction training will be on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of June, the 9th, 10th and 14th. We actually give you the 13th of June off. It's a long weekend. So we don't run training that day. At this stage, just flagging with you that the training will be at our head office. We have a full training set up here at head office, and it is in Wollongong. Wollongong's a lovely spot. How long does it take me to drive from Bella Vista to Wollongong, Liesl, normally? Liesl's going to say our speed now, aren't you?
Yeah, I better not answer this, hey?
About an hour and 10.
Yeah, around there, hour and 10, hour and a half.
Yeah, in bad traffic. Yep.
Yep.
So we're just flagging that because we do like to bring everyone together. Obviously, if circumstances change, we have run this online, and we can run it online. Just think training is a lot better. This type of training, this competency-based training, is better when people can liaise and be together. But obviously, we'll do it in a safe way. So at this stage, it will be at head office. So you will need to be prepared to travel down to head office for those 6 days. There is a possibility, just so I can flag with people that do live in Wollongong, that we might run 3 days up in our Bella Vista clinic as well. But we'll be able to let you know that closer to the time. But just be aware that that is on the cards. And then your initial assessments. So very quickly, what's the investment for it? So we love running the internship program. It is, I'll just be really honest with you, there's a lot of resources and effort going into it. And we enjoy doing that. And I love seeing building the workforce sector out of it. So the total internship investment includes the training, the supervision, the group supervision, and the group training. So it's almost a $10,000 cost per person to put them through the training program. But there's good news. We cover 50% of that. So we share that investment. We obviously pay you as well, but we share the investment of the internship. And there is an employee contribution, which is the 50%, the $4,825. And there's a couple of options for that we can deduct that out of your pay with your agreement. But Real Therapy Solutions also offer salary sacrifice. So the salary sacrifice enables you to take that, whether it's the $400 a fortnight over 6 months, or the $200 a fortnight over 12 months, out of your pay before they take tax out of it. So the salary sacrifice, you can also use it for cars, by the way, at Real Therapy Solutions, will actually bring the cost down for you to $273 a fortnight or $125. Yeah. So and either way is fine for us. That's up to you what you opt. The other good news is that after 12 months of being with us, we actually give you that $4,825 back. So on your 1 year anniversary, we will actually give that back to you because you've invested in yourself and you've been around for 12 months. So we'll invest that back and give that back to you as a bonus. So if you stick around for 12 months, which is we can guarantee that you'll enjoy that time and you'll learn a lot in that time, then we actually give that back to you. And that, I think, is my presentation. But one of the things I really want to reinforce with you is, even if you've put an application in for the internship, we need you, after being here tonight, to quickly flick an email over, and that email address is wrong. I need an L in there. Yep, that won't work. To Christina, make sure you put an L between the A and the T, please. Christina.kostovsky@realtherapysolutions.com.au. Christina's our recruitment manager. Just to say to her that you're in for the behaviour support internship. It doesn't need to be lengthy. Just flick her an email in the subject, say in for behaviour support practitioner, and we will now move your application through to the next level. If we don't receive an email from you, we will assume that you've decided it's not for you, and we won't progress your application through to the next stage. So it's really important. If you could make that decision before 1 o'clock tomorrow, please, because we are interviewing next week for the position at each of the clinics. So don't forget the L in Real Therapy Solutions. And I might try and change that while we go to questions. So I'm going to open it up for Liesel's put the actual email address in the chat. Thank you, Liesel. So I'm going to open it up for questions. If anyone's got any questions they'd like to ask, is there any in the chat line or the Q&A already, Liesel, that we can answer?
Amanda, I've already answered everyone that's asked in the Q&A. There was just one question around the paying for the course, and I think that has been answered now anyway through the rest of your presentation. Just noticed there's one question that came up in the Q&A. Are there any textbooks that you can recommend to get started learning the skills required of a behaviour support practitioner?
Yes, we've got them in the clinics. I strongly recommend the IABA work, the Institute of Applied Behaviour Analysis. They're an American organisation, and we have all of their workbooks and textbooks in the clinics, and it's just gold, really easy to read, easy to follow, but very evidence-based. So it works with what works, which is brilliant.
Another question was just around how many internship positions are available.
Yes, we are taking at this point 8. So we don't take a lot because, as you can see, we want to make sure that the training is competency-based, that you're getting the one-on-one attention from your supervisors, and the group supervisions aren't too big. They're in 2 lots, 4 and 4, and that the training's not too big. So it is very intensive and small. So we are only taking 8 people this time.
It's just another question around if they live geographically between 2 clinics, will the load be shared between clinics, or will they be allocated 1 clinic only?
Good question. We usually allocate you to 1 clinic because that means that's your team, and you can develop a relationship with your clinic manager and your supervisor who's allocated to that clinic. It doesn't mean, however, that, we may give you clients that are near the other clinics. And it doesn't mean you can't pop into the other clinic and see everyone, because the behaviour support team get together every 2 or 3 months, Liesl, for professional development.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, and they meet at one clinic. So on top of your supervision, you'll also be tapped into a buddy system. We'll have a behaviour practitioner with more experience that you'll just buddy with and be able to reach out and chat to, but you'll also be involved in professional development and training that's sometimes done online and it's sometimes done in the other clinics. So we do liaise between all of our clinics, including our telehealth clinic.
There were still a few questions around how many positions are available, which we've already answered. Will the successful people know the outcome, and what's the process from here was another big question.
Yep. So we move pretty quickly with our recruitment. We're not the government. There's not a 4-month wait to find out. Interviews next week. We will be making offers by the 29th of April. To give people enough notice, because we're starting the program on the 30th of May, and we recognise that there are often people that need to give 4 weeks notice for that, and then the program will start on the 30th of May.
There was quite a few questions still around the salary. Will experience be taken into consideration?
Definitely.
Will the salary change after the internship?
So absolutely. If you have a background in behaviour support and have done some behaviour support, we will absolutely consider that in your salary. Recognising that do you need to then go through the whole of the training. So that's something that you can absolutely chat to the panel about if you're offered an interview. And what was the other one, Liesl, that you asked?
The other one was just, will there be an increase after the internship?
So Real Therapy Solutions have obviously there's an award that we must follow, and we always follow. But over and above that, we have a number of, processes. One's called a teams assessment, where we look at, our values and how you're meeting those, and your clinical performance, and, your professional behaviours. Punctuality is, one that's in there. And we're having monthly conversations with you to help you build those skills and meet those requirements and work towards them. And those are the things that drive salary increases at Real Therapy Solutions above and beyond the award things. You'll actually find that the salary we're offering is well above the award. We are under the Health Professional and Support Services Award, as we're a health service. So the salaries are well above award. But yes, absolutely. So we look at the salary increases based on performance.
Another question was just, will the role as a behaviour therapist practitioner be approved by APRA for a provisional psychologist?
Yes, they are. So I've had a number of provisional psychologists go through the program and register as a psychologist, because we can do the lifespan work. The only thing in this program is your supervisor with Real Therapy Solutions is not a board approved supervisor. So you would need to access your own supervision from something like the College of Professional Psychology, COPS, or an outsourced supervisor. So we don't put you through any of those requirements around the testing and personality testing and all the ethics things. We put you through as a behaviour support practitioner, but it will meet the needs. I probably put about 25 people through over the years just by doing behaviour support.
Someone has just asked, they will shortly obtain their provisional license in the next month. Will that be a barrier to the application?
No, I don't believe it is, because you're not driving a company car. So as long as it's your car and you've got insurances, that's absolutely fine. Congratulations.
Excellent. Is the intervention based on ABA?
That's a really good question. The theory around positive behaviour support is definitely based on applied behaviour analysis theory. It's not, so it depends. ABA means so many different things. So it can be quite an intensive 40-hour therapy implementation, but the theory behind it is very similar, yes.
What is the superannuation rate?
I believe it's 10% at the moment. It's just gone up from 9.5 to 10%. So 10% of your salary is super. So if you want the breakdown, it's 65,000 and the rest is super.
There was a few more questions around the interview process, Amanda. So one person has just asked how long and what would it look like, as they've previously been involved in a 3-hour process. And then also one around, will people with disability background be considered or preferred for these roles?
So everybody is considered for the roles, and definitely people with a disability background would be encouraged to apply, and anyone else would be encouraged to apply.
Will the applicants be interviewed?
Will all applicants that opt in be interviewed?
Yeah.
No. There will be a cull process, but I strongly encourage you to apply. We have had numerous questions about, is this experience okay? And I've had Nikki come in and ask people on the phone, and I've looked at her and gone, absolutely, yes. So I would really encourage that if you are interested and you've seen everything that we've spoken about today and you're like, yes, this is what I want to do, put your resume in. We will probably not be able to interview everyone. Someone may have been referring to the 3 hours. We have done group interviews for this in the past with psychometric testing and one-on-one interviews. We're not doing that process again. We have changed it. So the interview is for an hour. It'll be with the clinic manager and Liesl. Are you doing all of them, Liesl?
Yes, I am.
All of them. So if we're taking 8 applicants, I would imagine we will at least be interviewing about 20 to 25 people for the roles, just depending on availability of the panels and everything.
So there was a question, is the internship placed at Bella Vista or at Wollongong?
Both. So there are roles at every clinic, apart from telehealth. It's not something we recommend when you're learning behaviour support to go into telehealth, which is fully work from home. It's Wollongong, Campbelltown and Bella Vista.
Amanda, I might just add to that. So remember, 6 days are face-to-face training sessions, and they are the ones that we've referred to as being delivered potentially from our head office in Wollongong. And then the rest of the internship will be accommodated at your base site, as Amanda has referred to. Yeah.
So I guess if you go to TAFE or you go to university, you're often traveling an hour to get to uni. I know I went to UNSW. We're just asking that you may need to travel a little bit to do the 6 days training. So
there was also a question, just wanted to confirm whether if the deadline for applications is actually Friday the 15th of April.
We want to interview next week, so we will actually start calling people tomorrow afternoon for interviews. So if you know you're interested, I don't want to rush your decision. If you're not sure, then take the time. But we are going to start calling people for interviews tomorrow. So we won't wait until the job ad closes. We don't have to. We can grab people as they come in. So if you're not sure, then have a think about it. If you've got more questions, email Christina with any questions if you think of some overnight, because I want you to make sure this is right for you, but at the same time, we want to make sure we give everyone 4 weeks notice to be able, if they are successful, to be able to give notice to their current employer.
So there was just a question if they need to send their resumes again to Christina, or is it just an email stating that they're opting in?
No, Christina's great. She's really organised. If you've sent us your resume, it's in our system, it's on file. She will just flag that up to interested in interview, and then we'll be going through those ones over the next few days.
I think we have answered all the questions. If for some reason we have missed your question just because of the amount, and I'm monitoring the question and answers as well as the messaging section, please quickly pop it in there again, but it looks as if we have answered most of the questions.
I can see Nerida's asked, how frequently do we run into?
Oh, that's right. Yep.
I probably should have mentioned this. On June the 30th, the commission who register behaviour practitioners are changing the rules. So as of the 30th of June, you will need to register with the commission and do the self-assessment before you can start with a provider. So before you can start working with someone like Real Therapy Solutions, you have to do the self-assessment. Not quite sure how you're going to do that if you don't have clients to actually show that you can go through the process and do the work. So the Commission, in their great knowledge and skill, are still trying to figure that out as well. So we're not entirely sure what the world will look like for people wanting to come into behaviour support after the 30th of June. I'm pretty certain that something will be worked out and we will be doing another internship probably later in the year. But we have to wait to see what the Commission determines. How do we get these people through? If you're not registered, you won't be able to see NDIS clients. So we can't give you the work in order for you to develop your portfolio to show them that you're developing capability. So that's a little bit up in the air. And as soon as I know anything about that, then we'll definitely post something out on our Facebook page, but that's a little open. So at the moment, we're doing this internship. I expect we'll do one later in the year, but we'll have to wait and see.
The question was just how many sites are there? Only 3.
There are 3 sites with our telehealth site and our head office at the moment. Yes. Great. I can see a couple of people have already sent through their resumes. So they've just said they've already opted in as well. Both resume and cover letter required. Yeah, we do encourage you to put a cover letter in. It's certainly something that we look at when we're going through the applications. Oh, thank you all so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate that. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us, as I said, over the next day or two. Obviously, the team are off over Easter, and we are hoping to start calling tomorrow afternoon for interviews that start next week. Whatever your decision, I wish you all the best, and hope that maybe I've encouraged some of you at least to move into a career in behaviour support, because I don't think you'll regret it. I love it. Lots of career opportunities moving forward. So I hope I've encouraged some of you to do that, whether it's with us or somewhere else. But we would love to have you on board at Real Therapy Solutions. So thank you all very much. Wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay. Do you want to